So we're going to talk about a very important subject today. It is forgiveness. They're all important, aren't they? All subjects are important. This one is particularly important because it is the topic of forgiveness. I have covered forgiveness in other videos. The Journeys video has a long, very long thing on forgiveness, but I want to cover one aspect of forgiveness and where it fits into recovery. So the nature of forgiveness is that's kind of glitchy. Okay, maybe I'll just draw on a nice scene today. So the nature of forgiveness is everybody wants peace. Okay, so let's call peace. What does peace come with? Peace of mind, peace. Everyone wants peace. Shanti. People want peace. What does peace come with? It comes with acceptance. And what does acceptance come with? It comes with first awareness. Just because you become aware, though, doesn't mean you get acceptance. That's like, you can't skip that. You become aware, and then you want to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good. No, there's a process in between. Awareness gives an opportunity, you don't have to, an opportunity for building of compassion. Compassion is like, what, that person did me wrong. Yeah, they're a human too. Dad was mean, but he was under a lot of stress. That's compassion. Okay? Starting to see a little bit from the other side. Or viewing yourself with compassion. These components. Awareness can lead to more compassion. And enough compassion can lead to forgiveness. Which gives you the neutrality and the peace of acceptance. So, sorry folks, you can't skip from awareness. Oh, my therapist told me my dad's narcissistic. That does not result in acceptance. But it can result in a road if you're willing to go there. And so I want to just highlight the 5 elements of all of these. All of these have 5 sub-elements at least, where attention is needed. And I'm just going to list them. You have to do these things in all these areas if you want true acceptance and peace. This is just one doctor's opinion. You don't have to take it. But I just want you to contemplate. This actually comes from Chinese teachings. But it's a helpful framework. So, first you got to forgive who? Yourself? That used to be like a new thing 50 years ago, 30 years ago. Not so new. Everything nowadays is be easy on yourself, right? Still hard to do, but it's more familiar. So forgive yourself. So these are the components. the other. Forgive yourself, forgive the other. That's like, yeah, you know what? I forgive that person who did me wrong. Many people, it just stops there. Or it's just one of these two. But if you don't hit all five, there's some elements that are going to be left, and it's going to keep coming back to you in your dreams, in your life, or in your whatnot. So then there is the situation itself. At NAM, we treat a lot of things like immigration, poverty. You stick COVID, right? You stick a bunch of household people who are used to having their own space, but now they're all clustered into one household. That's a situation, right? And then those people don't get along, they start hurting each other and this and that. That's a situation that then creates an opportunity for hurt, right? So that's its own thing. You gotta forgive the COVID thing. You gotta forgive the poverty, immigration stress. These days affordability is a thing. People can't afford. So what are they doing? They're living with their families. Maybe these are the same people who abused them when they were young. And they were coping with this by distance, and now they don't have distance. That's a situation. You got to forgive that. Anything that's hard on a person creates a target for resentment. Say that again. Anything that causes adversity to you creates a target for resentment, consciously or subconsciously. You don't even have to try. Potty training a 2-year-old. In India, they start potty training at 6 months, and it's easy peasy. You potty train a 2 or 3-year-old, easy peasy? It's pretty traumatizing, isn't it? And actually, the worst trauma comes to the child, because the child can't understand, right? So you can think of it from their perspective. They're mad at you. They don't know that it's a loving thing to potty train in this world, because you can't poop wherever you like. You're going to go to jail, right? But there's a situation, right? Mom's got to get to work on time. Little Joey needs to poop. Like that. We need money. We need a job. Kids don't get that. They just think you don't like them. So that's a situation. It's a target where forgiveness is needed. And then you kind of have the universe, the cause of the cause. God, higher power, whatever you call it, etc., etc. The one that sets it all up. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in that. A lot of folks, their reaction to non-believing, it comes from extreme anger and resentment. If there was a God, the God wouldn't have done this to me. Therefore, there must be no God. Which is cool. I'm not here. It's not a theology seminar. I'm just here to say that any resentment that from a situation, a human naturally carries it over to higher powers and angels and existential things. That's just a thing. It's a source and it's a target of resentment. So it needs to be a source and a target of forgiveness, if you want your forgiveness to be complete. And then there is this one. This one's not the most popular thing, but it is what is taught in the Chinese tradition, which I respect, and that is lesson learned. Did you learn the lesson? If you did not learn the lesson, the system will not evaporate, it will not disappear. Humans are accountable for every action they consciously or unconsciously do. This is the reality of reap what you sow, as the Christians say. In Punjabi, in Gurmukhi, we say Ape bij ape hi khai, Nanakuk mi avo jao. There's traditions to this worldwide. You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Turns out that's true. That's true of good things. That's true of bad things. It's true of stuff you did. It's true of stuff that you unconsciously did. A child is accountable for their actions, sooner or later. And you may say, oh, they're just a child. They don't know. Well, they don't consciously know. But unconsciously, of course they're, trauma is a good example. They chose a certain belief system because, they're mentally not fully developed and they didn't have much awareness, but they chose a belief system and they stuck with it, and then it complicated their life. 30 years later, they have a drug addiction problem, or PTSD problem, or something. A common example of that is like, oh, mom and dad are jerks, so God must be a jerk. I don't believe in God. Forget that. And then 30 years later, they are struggling with maintaining the stress within their belief structure. So everyone's accountable for what they experience, and they're part of that, big or small. So is the lesson learned? Is there a lesson to be learned in victimization? Yes. Yes, there is. Is there a lesson to learn in perpetration? Yes. Yes, there is. If you have hurt someone, there's a lesson to be learned in that. And if you learn the lesson goes away. This is why amends is a part of 12-step programs. It's an opportunity to right a wrong. As much as possible without causing damage. So these are the components. So what do you do? Well, starts with awareness, right? First, you got to be aware that there are components to forgiveness. Awareness is the hardest part of this. It can take decades, right? Decades. 30 years for someone, 40 years, 50 years. We get people in recovery out here sometimes in their 80s. 8 decades. Whoa, no one ever told me this. Awareness is like the universe's gift to you. Because awareness gives you a choice. And it is a choice because you don't have to make that choice. You can just hang out at awareness, or you can go back to the oblivion. Let's call this oblivion. Being oblivious. You can be oblivious. That's okay. That's a choice. You can keep your head in the sand. And if that's working for you, then do it. But awareness gives you the opportunity to broaden the awareness, learn more. It also gives you the opportunity to exercise compassion. You can increase your compassion in every one of these areas. It's just the heat waves here, right? So you can be compassionate to God. Imagine being God, when is summer going to get here? We need some heat. God gives us heat. Oh, it's really hot. When are we going to get the rain, It's like you can't win. It must be a hard job. Maybe we should be patient. That's an example of compassion for a higher power. Compassion for lessons needing to be learned. Life is lessons. Humans learn through lessons. If not for lessons, we'd all be grade 1s. Lessons need tests. Tests give you the opportunity to level up. Some lessons are hard to learn. Will you learn them? Will you have compassion that that's a necessary part of being human? Oh, I've had such a hard life. Why do I need to be tested? Are you a princess or a prince? You think you're exempt from just the nature's natural way of doing things? You think you've suffered enough and you don't need to suffer anymore? You're like exempt from that? This is the human condition. There's things that you need to think about. You need to agree. You just need to think about it. Become aware. Increase your compassion for other people, situations. Immigration trauma, immigration messes up 3 generations. Minimum, immediately. It messes up the parents, it messes up the kids, or the immigrants, and it messes up their kids. Overnight, airplane trip, no support compared to what you had, and a lot more stress. That's trauma, right there. Bang. Oh, I had a good trauma immigration experience. Oh, yeah. You say so. Immigration is a very stressful thing. Child rearing is a very stressful thing. Potty training. Stressful. Increasing your compassion for each component, the other person. A lot of people do bad things out of stress. They don't know how to deal with stress. No one taught them how to deal with stress, or they were taught bad ways to deal with stress. You know, there's some like a barn cat. You know, where did they learn to mouse? You know, the 2 kittens. We have some kittens at our acreage that just kind of are stray sort of thing. Their mom's not there. And we're like, well, how come they're not hunting the mouse? 1, they're small, and 2, my sensei, he asked me, he was like, how do you think cats learn how to hunt mice? They get mentored, right? Absence mentorship, they just lie around. This is nature, right? We all need to be taught, and sometimes we're taught wrong things, and we pass them on. Compassion for the other. Compassion for yourself. Some people get through trauma and hard stuff by being super hard on themselves. Just do better, do better, do better. Can't fail. You know? You're only human. You're not a robot. The human condition is to fail. And to get back up and learn. There's cycles of learning, relaxation and stress. Day and night. Cycles. It's not personal. Have compassion. Enough compassion in each of these categories opens up the opportunity of forgiveness. Forgiveness is like an onion, it has layers. On everything. I did a meditation on forgiveness the other day. It's not like rainbows and butterflies, right? But without it, recovery doesn't move forward. The more you forgive, the more you learn that you have to forgive. The more you forgive, the more awareness. It's not linear like this. At every stage, you go back to more awareness. And at every stage, it gives you the opportunity to go forward. It's a choice. Addiction, mental health is about choices. The hundreds of thousands of choices we make every day. So, here's your awareness. You can go back to being your head in the sand, oblivious. Or you can begin to work on which of these is your weak point, or which couple of these. You mad at God? Okay, I suggest you talk to God. Swear at God, yell at God, vent it. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend it's not there. You know? You mad at someone else? Get some therapy. Talk to some people. You know, connect to self, connect to others. You know, the self-therapy, this is what it does. It's a systematic way to increase your level of compassion, to then give you a choice to exercise forgiveness. You can make that choice, or you might not make that choice. It's okay. At least you're aware that that's the choice you're making. Yeah, but the other guy hurt me and he's not sorry. Okay, but is he sick? Getting sicker because of this belief that you're holding? Are you being mad? Is that hurting him? Doesn't really. It makes your blood pressure go up, increases your risk of heart disease. People with a lot of trauma, they live 20 years less than the average life expectancy. So if your average is 72 for men, a person with a lot of trauma, their average is 52 years old. And they don't all die of like suicide and drug overdose. They die of cancer and heart disease and diabetes and this and that and everything else. It ages your body holding on to stuff. Really, it ages your body. So you can make that choice, but you should know you're making that choice. That's where I draw my line. I can't do none of this other stuff for you. I can just give you awareness and you can make choices. We can give you tools. But the road to forgiveness and the road to acceptance and peace is a road. You know, one of the things you need to understand is what goes around comes around. Do you need to be the jerk? Do you need to be the one who's angry at that other person? Do you need to be the one that smites them to get back at? Do you need to be the one, or is the world not full of people who are ready to be unkind? So do you need to be another one of those, or do you choose to be the one who's going to forgive? And the resentment prayer is a really good way to do that. Choices, just choices. So that's my thing on forgiveness. Questions about this?
So with your awareness, you say that can take decades. For some people, it can take decades to move to compassion.
Yeah.
But once you get to compassion, can you get stuck there too?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, some people,
And
they're just stuck over here and they don't want to make the decision.
Yeah.
People can attend therapy for years and do everything except that. Talk about everything else except that. And they'll make progress in some areas, but this will be a major thing that holds them back. This can take seconds once awareness is achieved. This can also take decades if it's not. Choice is yours. How much are you willing to do? How much is your system willing to do? At NOM, we do a lot of resourcing. You know, get people's sleeping habits better. Get people's stress tolerance higher. Get people's ability to access higher power. Deal with blocks there. It all makes this go easier. A lot easier. But it does not replace the choice. You can do all this stuff, and I have done all this stuff with people, but at the end they don't make a choice. And I thought, oh, you can just meditate it away, but it just doesn't meditate away. And you know what, if you've been hurting other people, because we all do that, self-forgiveness is a thing. It's not just victims of trauma that have to do this, it's perpetrators. because there are no victims. Every victim is a perpetrator in another way against someone else. We take energy and then we give it, we do that. We take it, we maybe give it back indirectly to the same person, or we give it to the kids, consciously or unconsciously. And so then this cycle keeps going. But all it takes is one person out of a family to decide. And then you'll be amazed when magically the family starts to shift. And people start to do things that you never thought were possible. So, a little longer video. Any other questions on this?
I have one.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what your 3 C's are. 3 C's I know are catch, check, and change.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me clarify what our 3 C's are. Connect to self, connect to others, and commit to daily practice. Actually, learn to communicate. We'll be changing that a little bit. But the connect to self and connect to others.
And commit to daily practice.
Yeah. So that's sounds obvious, but if you do that every day, you're gonna find better ways to connect to yourself. You're gonna find better people to talk to. How do you go through this? As you talk to people who have and tell you, hey man, I was mad at my dad too for a long time. Here's how I dealt with that, and here's how good I felt. You're not gonna go do this without any mentorship, right? So don't keep the same old crew. Don't keep the same old people in your life. We're miserable and unforgiving. If you want to go this route and you want peace, find peaceful people. Ask them how they got it, because they probably did some version of this in some tradition. And then learn. That's how you do it. And if you're stuck somewhere, well, maybe find some new people. Take some new classes. Do some new things. This is your life. It is your recovery. It is your system. It's not rainbows, but it is rainbows if you sort of take the self-pity out of it. Because this awareness gives you a choice. Now you're not powerless anymore. Okay?
So what was the third C? Connect to self, connect to others, and commit?
Commit to daily practice is currently what that stands for. We may be shifting that a little bit, but a daily practice, connect to self and connect to others. Commit to a daily practice. Because layers of the onion come off in the daily practice. So you did something the other day, meditation, forgiveness, it riled some stuff up, and that'll probably shave a couple of layers off this. Sometimes that's subconscious. But subconsciously, enough stuff results in conscious change. So, a daily practice. Sometimes you meditate in a day in the morning and you just feel like you wasted your time. No, something changed. It was just not in awareness. If you spent time with yourself out of compassion, something changed. It had to have changed. It cannot not change.
So it is possible to be between forgiveness and acceptance, because you said it's like forgiveness be like an onion.
Yeah, you're always.
Layers, so you're doing half an onion now. I've partially accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah. Acceptance isn't like you get there.
It's not like 100% gonna be there. You're like going, okay, I'm
Maybe
accepting this.
maybe the saints, right? Like it's not. It's a destination and an end goal that we work towards. And the people who are there will never tell you that they're there. They're still working on it. Because the more you do it, the more you realize, oh man, I messed that up, or I did that, and then you. So, and it's a beautiful journey, right? That's why you don't work the 12-step program once. It's always more. At some point, that's beneficial. At some point, it's just more layers of yourself that you can access. It's healing and it's enjoyable. At some point, it does get there. So it's about the journey, it's not about the destination. Because, yes, We're always in the middle. On some things we've accepted. I remember one person, it took decades, or no, it took years of therapy to get to the point of saying, yeah, you know what, I had an abusive childhood. As opposed to normalizing and excuse making and this and that. You know? This person, one day, said, yeah, you know what, that was abusive. Big milestone. Big awareness. So she's achieved acceptance of a portion. Not of everything. So you have to get out of this linear thinking business. You have to get into holistic thinking, which is that it's always a process and the mind is very complicated. And we're always ebbing and flowing back and forth. But if you're stuck, you need to unstuck if you want to make progress. So if these elements are stucking you, then work on these. Put them in your affirmations. Target them. If one of these sticks out more than the others, then work on that. Target that. And maybe magical things will happen. Let's leave it at that. Forgive me if I misspeak. Take what's good, what's not. Leave and ground yourself, or do use some tools, because forgiveness can be a touchy topic. So we'll leave it at that.